Hi folks, my next little project on the R32 is to repair or repaint these wiper arms. As you can see, a lot of the paint's come off and there's a little corrosion just at that hinge there, and at the far side up there isn't much better either. So what I'm going to do is remove these wiper arms, get them repainted, put new wiper blades etc. on. This is a wee job that can apply to most cars, but you know, the principle's all the same. So really my steps are going to be pop off these two caps, and there's one further back in here, remove the arms, obviously mark the level where the wipers are so I don't want to lose the track of the sweep. Put a bit of cardboard beneath the wipers so just in case the arms come down at spring pressure, don't want to shatter the windscreen. Get them cleaned, prepped, sanded up, primer the arms and paint them of course as well. So this should be a fairly quick job. I expect to be done within an hour or so. Okay. My first stage of prep is underway. You can see I have the blue tape under the wiper arms. That's really just me with the pen marks marking the alignment of the wiper arms. There's a spline adjustment in these, as you'll see soon, so I could knock off the arms and what direction they go. So that's me just sort of marking things so that they go back in reasonably the same place. The same obviously on the second wiper there. You'll also see I've put the cardboard under the wipers at the windscreen there. That's really just in case whenever I'm removing these arms, if an accident happens and I let go, it's less likely to shatter the glass, and things like that have happened before, so might as well be safe rather than sorry that way. So that should prevent any accidents happening. So the next stage will be to remove these caps there at the end of each arm and start removing the actual arms themselves. Okie dokie, time to remove the first cap. There we go, that was easy enough. You can see simple screw or nut there to remove the wiper arm. Then on to the next one. Okay, same process again here. And that one's removed. So time to get a ratchet and remove these nuts that hold the wiper arms on. Okay, using a 13mm socket, let's see if we can get these nuts removed. Okay, that come off pretty easy. And unscrew the rest by hand. Okay, that's one off. Time to move to the other side. Okay, moving on to the next side. There we go. That one come off it pretty easy too. Job done. Then it'll be time to try and lever these two wiper arms off. This can be the difficult part if these wiper arms haven't been off in a long time. They can be stuck fast, so fingers crossed they both come off pretty easy. Okay, my first attempt will be just by hand. Let's see if any of these want to come. I can see the corrosion. There's corrosion in there, but it is starting to move. There we go, that's one off, easy peasy. And just to illustrate what you're dealing with there, that's obviously a splined collar there, and that's obviously what the wiper arms bite into. So that's where you'll find, even with the nut removed, it can be difficult to take them off again, but that's what you're fighting against there. So, and obviously the screw thread there for the actual nut to bite into. So on to the other side. Okay, and fingers crossed the other side is as easy. and it's not coming off too quickly. So what I'll do is get some plus gas and run that down in the inside into that spline shaft to loosen it up a wee bit, and if need be I can use wiper removal tools just to pop it off. Okay, so a quick coat of plus gas and leave that to soak in. Okay, it's been soaking for a wee while. Let's see if this has got any movement. Ah, yep, I can see there's a little movement there. There we go. And that's the wiper arm off. I'm also fighting against the spring, so I was supporting the spring and the actual wiper arm with my right hand, so you almost want to alleviate the spring pressure on the arm because it's almost holding it in. So I was lifting the arm up slightly and bending the arm up and then taking the tension off the spring arm and then wiggling this, and you'll find the joint as you keep wiggling it back and forth like so, that starts to remove it off the spline shaft. But that's the hardest bit of the job complete. That's the wiper arms off, which can be very difficult at times. So really it's a case of moving on to getting the arm wiper blades removed and getting the arms prepped and ready for paint. You can see here I have the wiper blades ready to get removed. Literally just a case in this pre-facelifted Mk5. Press the button down there and with a little force slide the wiper blade off. Job done. And the same again on the other side. Job done. My first step in the cleaning process will be to give these wiper arms a quick clean while the car's been recently washed. That's obviously not quite clean enough, and as you've seen I used a bit of plus gas down there to remove that nut. Obviously the paint's not going to react too well to that, so let's try and get rid of that. Any oils and stuff left. This is just a quick first clean prior to doing any sort of painting. Okay, that's them. Giving a quick coat. And the next stage will be to get the sandpaper and wire brush out. Okay, moving on to the prep side of things. I have an old sanding pad, sandpaper there, it's 400 grit. It's a bit fine, but we can see how that goes. And then 2 wire brushes. So let's get cracking with that. You can see in a few places like there was paint bubbles there. Obviously the corrosion had got in, and just by using this large wire brush that sort of popped the bubble and removed the loose paint. And that's the first stage I'm going through here, just trying to remove any loose stuff there. You can see there's a bit more coming off, and this will just do the bulk of the work. And we're not quite aiming for perfection here, because obviously we're painting over it, but what we're actually doing here is just providing a key and a rough surface for the paint to stick to. And time to move on to the finer wire brush there, just to get into a few spots, the likes of in there where I can't get with the large wire brush. Okay, that's both sessions where the wire brush is done. Time to move on to maybe try the sanding pad here for speed. This is quite good for things like this, where it's, you know, got a curved bit and you don't want to miss. It's quite easy to miss all those sort of curved edges there. So having the soft sanding pad goes round them and is very, very quick. And you can see how dull that finish is already compared to this side, so it's creating a good key. Try not to miss edges like there, just sort of these are easy points where you might miss giving it a bit of a key, so try to be fairly thorough with any sanding that you do. Okay, time to try a quick go with the 400 grit sandpaper as well. It's one of those things you can't really be too thorough, so even if you're not spending loads of time on it, you might as well just do it all and do it right. And we're going through that many grades and different tools, you're less and less likely to leave any missed parts. I'm going to try and make sure I don't miss anything in the actual mounting points of the arms as well, try and get them good and clean. Okay, that's roughly the sanding complete now. I'll give these another wipe down with brake cleaner, try and get them good and clean. Okay, time to start into the brake cleaner. That's them giving a good rinse with brake cleaner now. I will then get a blue rag and using brake cleaner again, give them a quick wipe down. Okay, time for wipe down number 2 with brake cleaner and a blue rag. You can see some of the dirt that's coming off there. Okay, getting ready to paint now. Just to give you an idea, the products I'm using, this is U-pol Acid Etch primer. U-pol, generally their paints are absolutely brilliant quality. This etch primer, it's a little expensive, but it's worth its weight in gold. It just works. I'm not using U-pol paint, and one common tip and recommendation is to stick with the same manufacturer between primers and paints. But this U-pol stuff seems to work with everything. Really good quality, never had a problem with it. Paint itself is Rustoleum Hard Hat finish, and it is a satin black colour as well. And you can see the product code and RAL paint code there as well. This is absolutely brilliant paint now from someone that always used to use Hammerite. This stuff seems to be better quality, goes on easier, sprays better, dries significantly quicker. It's win-win all round. It's a little expensive as well, but it lasts and you do get plenty out of the tin as well. And you can see my common top tip is a bucket of warm water, leaving both the primer and paint in that, and it's a warm bucket of water, not boiling, so don't worry about boiling the kettle. And what that's going to do is help increase the pressure inside the can a little, and obviously the paint and product coming out is going to be that bit warmer, so it helps it dry. Just a simple top tip. Certainly if you're like myself, you live in Northern Ireland, the weather is rarely that warm, so it brings it up a wee bit of a level that way. You'll also see I've made a couple of hooks for each wiper arm, just bits of garden wire. You see I've used them before. Really, this will allow me to hold the wiper arm while I paint it, and obviously hang it up. I'm going to go out the back and use the washing line, really just to hang it so I don't have to touch it. And as I said, just bits of garden wire bent into shape, dead easy, and it means I can leave them hanging in the washing line for roughly half an hour while the paint dries. So the next thing will be me hanging things up and getting them ready to paint. Okay, you can see both wiper arms there and over there rigged up on the washing line. That's me pretty much ready to paint. I'll not paint when they're on the washing line. I'll probably lift them off and give them a quick spray. That's really just to save the paint going all over the washing line. But that's them pretty much hung up. I've bent the hooks, so if it is windy, there's the wind getting up now, that they shouldn't come off the hooks, so you want to sort of bend the hooks up and round so they don't fall off. But yeah, that's me pretty much prepped and ready to go. Time for me, I wear glasses, so an old pair of glasses on and get my respirator on, and that's me pretty much good to go. Okay, that's me literally about to put the primer on now. I maybe didn't explain this primer before when I showed you it initially. Basically this acid etch primer, you could probably get away without using it, but because there's some parts of bare metal around the hinges there, This is going to help adhesion of the paint, and as the name suggests, there's acid in this, so this will help it chemically etch into the arm in this case. So as well as a sort of physical key using the sanding pads and paper, this is going to give it an extra chemical etch onto the paint. So we're giving the paint all the help it can get to actually stick and stay stuck down. So this has been in the bucket of hot water for a few minutes. Time to, it's obviously been given a good shake. I will now crack on and get the first light coat of etch primer onto the wiper, and obviously use your dust mask or respirator as well. I'll just show you these coats quickly here. You can see it's a fairly light mist coat. There's parts of the black still showing through, so nothing major there, but gives you a quick idea what I'm aiming for. You're not looking to actually totally cover the whole thing, you're just really looking to give it a nice sort of guide coat to allow the paint to stick. You definitely don't want to do too heavy a coat that way. What I'll probably do is, that's a quite light coat, I'll maybe do a second slightly heavier coat and see how that goes. Okay, a few minutes have passed now, so time for the second coat of etch primer. Okay, just to show you the second coat of etch primer on there. Hopefully that's coming out pretty clear. As you can see, there still is a few mist spots, or well, lighter spots, but we're not aiming to totally cover. As long as there's a nice light coat over everything, that's the main thing. It's not like a colour coat where you really want to get everything on it. Obviously this one here as well. As I said, hopefully that comes out okay in the camera and focuses. Okay, time for the first coat of paint now. This, similar to the primer, is going to be a quick light coat. Again, just to help with the adhesion of the actual paint, but just a quick light coat. Aim for even coverage, not totally essential. Do say maybe 4 or 5 light coats and see how things progress from there. Just to give you a quick idea again of the coverage I've got here, you can see it's misted on there. Certainly nothing, you're not even for a full coat where you hide all the primer. Just aiming for light coats, and what you find with that is it'll dry much quicker and much more evenly. So, and you're less likely to get things like big blobs of paint or any runs and things. So yeah, I'll leave that for a few minutes to dry, the first coat that is, and crack on with another, say maybe 3 coats. The sky's actually looking pretty dark here, so I might end up having to run inside here, but we'll see how we get on. Okay folks, time for coat number 2 now. Aiming for a little more coverage, a bit more even coverage. Slightly heavier, but again not really a heavy coat, but just aiming for good solid coverage. Okay, now time for coat number 3. I've got a really good coverage now, roughly, certainly on the main bits that you actually see in the wiper arm. So coat number 3 is going to be continuing that. Might be the odd miss part that you still see a bit of primer through. Coat number 3 should make up most of that. So we're still aiming for 4 coats roughly. I might aim for a 5th just for good measure, but we'll see how we get on. Okay folks, time for coat number 4. You'll see I've put a little can gun onto the aerosol. Not usually a biggest fan of these things, but this can seems to be blocking up, and what these can help do is make sure you're evenly pressing down the button, so hopefully this helps, but I suspect one of the nozzles is starting to block up here. The can gun seems to have helped quite a bit there. I keep changing the warm water, so the can is quite warm, but either that or the blockage has come out, but that can gun certainly helps. Not usually the biggest fan of these, but it's working certainly for this can, and it gives you a wee bit more control over how you're spraying, and certainly for the last few coats it gives you a chance to make things a wee bit more even. But that's the 4th coat on. I'm probably going to go for a 5th. I've been leaving the coats fairly light, wee bit of wind about, so I've had to put the can quite close to the actual wiper arm, so I've been keeping the coats quite light, so I'll keep going with this and probably aim for a 5th coat. In typical Northern Ireland weather, it's actually started to rain, or it did rain halfway through the sort of 4th, 5th coat of the wiper arms, so hence the reason you can see a bit of water. I have the wipers hanging up inside the garage to keep them out of the rain, but they all seem okay. I don't think the rain's harmed the finish. But while they're drying, I'm going to clean up the splines and threads on the wiper arms. I don't need to go over the top, just keep them clean. You'll see there is a little corrosion, so just give them a quick once over with the wire brush, and you can see the dust coming off them. And the same again with this last spline shaft here. Just give it a quick wire brush. And a quick spray with brake cleaner. Like so. And a little dollop of copper grease, and that's me in business. As mentioned, it did start raining on me there, but the wiper arms have been recovered and have actually come out quite well. Okay, time to put on the first wiper arm. You'll see these are times when the cardboard's very useful, so you're not scratching your windscreen. I'm lining up the wiper arm with the marks I've put on the tape, so the angles should all be the same. Okay, it's roughly hand tight there. I'm just going to tighten it up, of course, with the ratchet here. Okay, that's pretty much the wiper arm tightened. Just be careful about over tightening these, because you can split the whole arm and wreck the splines on it. So really it's a case of lifting up the arm, making sure there's no tension on it, setting it down that way. That's pretty much us. Okay, time for the last arm to go on. Okay, the last job now will be to put the wiper arms on. You'll see in this case of this pre-facelift Mk5, there's a wee button, and I literally just click on, push the button down and slide it in. Okay folks, I'm afraid my GoPro's playing up now, so I've moved on to my phone just to show you the finished article here. Very, very happy with that job. It's come out very, very well. So there you go, as you can see the finish.